Yes, what's good everybody, and welcome back to Chat Sports TV here with the New York Giants Mailbag edition. I'm your delightful host, Nick Dais, at The Lamb Show is where you can find me. Yes, Mailbag, you ask the questions, I answer them. Let's get it started with Say Quads. Yes, Say Quads asking, who do you think is the best breakout player besides Saquon Barkley or Daniel Jones? And I think the one guy that you could look at, Say Quads, is Darius Slayton, coming off a rookie campaign where he caught 48 passes for about 740 yards, 8 touchdowns, led the NFL in touchdowns for a rookie. Is it going to be the second year boom? We have seen wide receivers in the past take that second year leap into greatness, and I think the one thing that separates Darius Slayton from the rest of the wide receivers for the New York Giants is a lot of the guys that the New York Giants have do very similar things, and no one really does what Darius Slayton does, and that is line up on the outside as a true outside wide receiver. The game has changed, folks. West Coast offenses, a lot of underneath stuff, slant routes and flat patterns. The one thing with Darius Slayton is he's a speedster on the outside, a 5th round pick last year in the draft, one of the gem finds for Dave Gettleman, the GM for the New York Giants. So I think on the roster right now, currently, Darius Slayton is the most unique wide receiver that the New York Giants have. And as well as the flashes last year of greatness from both Daniel Jones and Darius Slayton, you saw great chemistry between the two, especially when you look at some of the games that them two had, in particular that game against the New York Jets, the MetLife Bowl, and you also saw flashes of Darius Slayton, his upside in that Monday Night Football game against the Eagles when Eli Manning was the quarterback. So the one guy I'm looking to break out is Darius Slayton. Next up, from Falcon 2, is Daniel Jones the answer to quarterback? Look, he needs to be, because it's going to validate what happened in last year's NFL draft, taking him at the 6th overall pick. When you get a guy that high, you need him to be a franchise guy, and he showed a lot of upside. There was a lot of growing pains with Daniel Jones, but there was a lot of good also. Ended the year with 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions in his last 5 games. Also, he was a guy who showed mobility in the pocket and was able to extend plays, something that Eli Manning has not been able to do for a very long time. Hell, for his entire career, he was never a guy that could move the chains with his feet. And he needs to cut back on the turnovers. Around 30 turnovers did Daniel Jones have last season in his rookie campaign in 12 starts. That's about 2.5 turnovers per game. You cannot win in the NFL at any position if you're turning the ball over that much, especially if you're at the prime position for an NFL team. So I think there is some second year magic for Daniel Jones, as I've noted before. Last 2 NFL MVPs have been guys going into their second year as NFL players. Lamar Jackson in 2019, Pat Mahomes in 2018. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is going to win MVP, but there is a trend of second year quarterbacks understanding what they're facing and taking that next step. And I expect that for Daniel Jones. I want you guys to weigh in below in the comments. Do you trust Daniel Jones? Yes or no? A very simple answer is what I want you guys to give me. Mason Prulux, how good will the Giants offensive line rank this season? Can you see top 15 maybe? So let's take a look at the projected starters for the New York Giants. Nate Solder at left tackle, Will Hernandez at left guard, Spencer Pulley from the Los Angeles Chargers, Kevin Zeitler came over in the Cleveland Brown trade with Odell Beckham Jr. and Olivier Vernon, and of course number 4 selection, Andrew Thomas at right tackle. Per PFF in 2019, they ranked them at number 17. So Mason, that is roughly around where you want them to be. So it's not that far off. Let's just say Andrew Thomas comes in and becomes a all-rookie candidate and is the answer at right tackle. I could definitely see them being a top 15 offensive line. You don't need them to be the best offensive line. The offensive line, despite what many people like to believe, has vastly improved over the last couple of seasons, because they were once the 30th offensive line per PFF in 2017. And as the years have gone on, they have added pieces to improve that offensive line. So I do think them being closer to top 10 is a more realistic expectation for the New York Giants. And with protection comes production for Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, and the rest of the offense for the New York Giants. So I am looking to see them itch closer to the top 12 range, top 10, around there, than regressing this year. Remington Averbeck. What will the Giants' record be in 2020? Raiders fan here. Thanks for beating the Patriots twice. Remington, you're very welcome on behalf of the New York Giants. So let's take a look at the schedule for the New York Giants. And it's very important to know that when the schedule comes out, it's key to see when you are playing certain teams. Because a lot of times what happens, you go on this murderer's row of matchups that you have, that before you know it, you're looking at your record and you're 2-7, and the playoffs are out of the picture. So it's very important to remember when you're looking at the schedule, it's when you play certain teams, because for the most part, you know who you're going to be playing. You just don't know when they're going to be playing. So let's run through the schedule for the New York Giants. Week 1 through 4, we got Steelers at home, at Chicago, San Francisco 49ers at home, at the LA Rams. Then week 5 through 8, we got at Cowboys, Redskins at home, at Eagles, Tampa Bay, and Tom Brady coming in to MetLife. I do think this might be Eli Manning ring night, where they put his jersey up in the Ring of Honor, so something to look out for. Week 9 through 12, we have at the Redskins, Eagles at home, bye week, week 11, which is really nice. Roughly, you want the bye week between weeks 9 and 11 of the NFL season. Not too late, not too early. Then you have at the Bengals, week 12, and then wrapping up the season, the last 5 games, we got week 13 at Seattle, Cardinals and Browns back-to-back at home. Browns, of course, Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be fired up for that one. Then you got at the Ravens, and you end the year, week 17, against the Dallas Cowboys. And in the world of way too early projections and predictions, I am going to go with 5-11 for the New York Giants. I do think that there are still a lot of question marks for a team that is improving, but until proven otherwise, you're looking at a team since 2017 has won the least amount of games in the entire National Football League. So until proven otherwise, I'm going to go with 5-11 for the New York Giants. Way in below. Tell me if I'm right. Tell me if I'm wrong. Predict the Giants 2020 NFL record, ladies and gentlemen. John Kopke. Does Saquon really have any chance at winning MVP if it's not a QB, because team success plays a big factor in MVP voting, and the Giants probably won't have much success in 2020? Well, I think, John, you kind of answered your own question there. When it comes to picking an MVP, it's very important to remember one thing. Do you think the team can make the playoffs? Because if you don't think the team can make the playoffs, you shouldn't bet on that player to win MVP. Look, a guy might throw 40 touchdowns, but if his team goes 4-12, sure, he's going to win you fantasy championships, but he can't win NFL MVP. The MVP award goes to a player who is the most valuable on a team that is valuable and is going to make the playoffs. So right off the bat, you need to ask yourself one very important question, John, and to everyone else who wants to bet any player for the New York Giants or any team across the board. If you want them to win MVP, do you really and truly believe that they can make the playoffs? If your answer is yes, then go ahead and do that. But let's say the offensive line hits. Saquon Barkley could have a 2012 Adrian Peterson season. Remember, Adrian Peterson and the Vikings went in as a wild card team that year. He had the 2,000 yards after tearing his ACL. Ultimately, team success is key, like I mentioned before. So if you think that the Giants can make the playoffs, then why not? There's been running backs in the past that have won it, and if you're looking at the New York Giants, their whole success is going to be around the legs of Saquon Barkley. In 13 games in 2019, he had over 1,000 yards rushing, and the whole season he was hurt. Remember, he got hurt against Tampa Bay, and he came back way early than they expected. So if you think it's yes, a lot of the Giants' success is going to be because of Saquon Barkley. So why not? Why not? I do think that it's something that can happen. Unlikely, but I think it has some legs behind it, John. Yannick. SMX Yannick. Is Saquon going to be the highest paid running back when he gets paid? Yes, Absolutely. The next guy up to get paid is going to get paid, and he sets a new market. That's why I think it's crazy when people are outraged over these new deals some of these players sign. No matter how you feel about the player, he's the next guy up. And next up gets paid. Let's take a look at some of the quotes from Saquon Barkley. Foaming at the mouth, a report surfaced when Christian McCaffrey signed his deal just a couple of months ago with the Carolina Panthers. In my opinion, guys, I think McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley are the two best running backs in football. You want to put on 1A, 1B, whoever you want to put at 1A and 1B, it's up to you. I will not disagree with you. The contract will be justified because if Saquon Barkley is what he's shown you in the last 2 seasons, he's worth every penny. Now, do you want to pay a running back? That's a different conversation. We'll save that for another time. But I want you guys to weigh in below. Who's the better running back? Type C for CMC, Christian McCaffrey. Type S for Saquon Barkley in the comments below. And last but not least, Calum asks, could DeAndre Baker be cornerback 1? The second-year cornerback, former first-round pick for the New York Giants. I think his last worry right now, Calum, is football. He has a lot of off-the-field things he needs to figure out with some law enforcement and court cases. For the time being, football should not be on his mind. With that being said, to answer your question, I think he could be a very solid number 2 corner. He didn't show what you wanted out of a first-round pick playing the cornerback position last year. And also the Giants go out and break the bank for top cornerback in free agency, James Bradbury from the Carolina Panthers. So the Giants in-house are kind of telling you what they think about DeAndre Baker. But like we said at the start of this one, he needs to worry about a couple of other things before he worries about football. At the Lamb Show is where you can find me, and I will catch you guys next time on Chat Sports.